problem.
Yeah.
So good evening to all presented here. Today's session we're going to see about the human muscular system. So human muscular system plays a vital role, important role in locomotion. With the help of with these muscles going to be attached to the skeleton system, and this will be helpful in the locomotion, movement, and various vital organ functioning also is taken place by this muscular system. Let me see the uh, class detail about the muscular system. So today class overview we're going to see about what is muscular system, then structure of muscle cell, classification of muscle, then physiology of muscle contraction, then function of muscle tissue, then the property of muscle. Okay, so what is muscular system? So muscular system, human body has more than 600 muscles in our body. So muscles performs many useful function and helps us in doing the everything daily works in our day-to-day life. Muscular system is an organ system consisting of skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscle. These are the very important muscles which going to be specialized. Even you can treat as a specialized muscle which going to plays a major role in our day-to-day life. The muscle which is attached to a skeleton system we call it as a skeletal muscle, and the smooth muscle is going to be a specialized muscle where your esophagus, intestine, stomach, everything else is made up of that smooth muscle. And a cardiac muscle, in the name itself it has the cardiac is nothing but our heart. The heart is made up of a special kind of muscle called as a cardiac muscle. Okay, so it permits the movement of the body, as I said, and maintains the posture and circulate the blood throughout the body. The muscular system in vertebrates are controlled through the nervous system, except some muscle will be controlled by the nervous system, especially our cardiac muscle. With the skeletal system, it forms the musculoskeletal system, which is responsible for the movement of the human body. So this is what in the diagram you can able to see. More the 100%, 90% of the muscles will be your skeletal muscle. The muscle which is going to be attached with the skeletal system is called skeletal muscle, or your thigh bone, your cuff muscle, your leg muscle, your forearm, your bicep, chest muscle, your six packs. Everything is going to be your skeletal muscle. What you see is a skeletal muscle. The 90% of the human being going to have the skeletal muscle. Then now we're going to see the structure of the muscle cell. First we're going to see about the muscle mass. The muscle tissue is made up of a large number of individual muscle cells which we called as the myocytes. So the muscle cell we call it as the myocyte. Muscle cells are commonly called as muscle fibers because these cells are elongated, then slender in appearance. We can able to take the muscle in fiber by fiber. Nothing actually, muscle is nothing but even everyone has seen that muscle. We have ate that muscle. What is nothing but the chicken, mutton, what we are eating on Sundays, a non-vegetarian. The chicken, especially the mutton, the flesh, what we are eating is nothing but the muscle. So even the chicken muscle or the mutton means the sheep muscle or goat muscle is going to have the same nature, which going to be even if you're trying to wash up and eating while you're finish cooking, you can just have a dissection of that muscle. You can find out some fiber threads. That's why we call it as a muscle fiber. Okay, the skeletal muscle fibers are multinucleated and are arranged parallel to one another with some connective tissues in between these fibers. So the muscle mass is separated from the neighboring tissue by a thick fibrous tissue layer known as fascia. Okay, so I'll show on the next diagram, or else in this diagram this is going to be your muscle. This is going to be enter muscle. When you're going to see the cross section of the muscle, you can able to see such a kind of cross section of the muscle. And we're going to take this one into deeply. That's what is mentioned in the diagram C. So this is going to be our muscular fasciculus. Okay, this is going to be our muscular fasciculus, which in turn we can able to find out the muscular fibers. Here we can able to find out the muscular fibers, and the covering of this layer, this muscle, cross section of this muscle, we called it as a fascia. Okay, right. So beneath the fascia, muscles are covered by a connective tissue sheet called as epimysium. Okay, so this one I told, no, this is going to be your fascia, where it's going to have a cover by an layer which is called as a epimysium. So this is going to be your epimysium. The covering of this fascia is going to be your epimysium. Okay, this one. Okay, the muscle fibers are arranged in various groups called as bundle or fasciculus. So this is going to bundle of muscles. Okay, so see, 1 2 3 4 5 6, in this diagram they are shown 6 fibers which are going to be bundled together, and we call it as a fasciculi. This is going to fasciculus or fasciculi. This is going to be a muscle fasciculi. When we're going to enlarge this muscle fasciculi, or going to see the microscopic structure of this muscle fasciculi, we can again able to find out small fibers, muscle fibers. It's not, it doesn't mean that it contains only 6 fibers. It contains a lot of many millions of fibers. For your understanding, their diagram has been mentioned with the 6 fibers. So this is called as muscle fiber. Okay, so the muscle fibers are arranged in various groups called as bundles or fasciculi. The connective tissue sheet that covers each fasciculus is called as a perimysium. So each this layer, okay, this layer, the outer layer, this outer layer is called as the epimysium, and the outer layer, the inter fiber we are going to take, and the layer of that particular fiber we called as perimysium. This is going to be your perimysium. Okay, this layer is going to be your perimysium. Each muscle fiber is covered by a connective tissue layer called as endomysium. Okay, so this fibers, okay, this fiber is going to cover by a covering, the inner covering we call it as a endomysium. This is going to be endomysium. So we have 3 layers. The first one, the cross section, this is going to be our muscle mass. When end with all skeletal muscle, always going to end with the tendons. When you're going to take the cross section of this muscle mass, you're going to find out this kind of view of the cross section of that muscle mass, where we're going to have a lot of muscle fasciculi. And when you're going to take the cross section of the muscle fasciculi, we can able to find a lot of muscle fibers, and each and every fiber is going to have a lot of fibrils inside the muscle. And the layer which going to cover your we're going to cover your fiber, which we call it as a epimysium. And the inside, the cross section view of that fiber going to have a lot of fibrils, which we call it as a perimysium, the covering of the fiber which is called as a perimysium. And we're going to also have an endomysium which is going to cover the inner fibers, muscle fibers. We call it as a endomysium. Okay, this is what about the muscle mass. Next we're going to see about the muscle fiber. Okay, so this is going to be your muscle mass. Okay, this is going to be a muscle mass, and this is going to be a bone, and this is going to be a tendon which going to get attached with the bone. All as I said, as we discussed in the last session, human skeletal system, bone is supported by with the muscle, cartilage, as well as the ligaments. Okay, so what happened here, each and every muscle is going to be attached with the bone with the tightly packed called as tendons. Okay, so that's very difficult to separate the bone and the muscle with a free hand. If you're going to use a knife, or if you're going to use any cutting machine, you can able to cut and separate the muscle as well as the bone. So this is the muscle mass, and this is going to be your the muscle fibers. See, this is going to be a muscle fiber, where you can able to see some red lines and yellow lines will come. We will see that later. Okay, now the muscle fiber. Each muscle cell or the muscle fiber is cylindrical in shape, as in this you can able to see in the diagram, and this is going to be a fascia. Okay, the muscle mass is in the fascia. This the covering of this muscle, this called as a fascia. Okay, average length of the fiber is going to be 3 centimeters, and it varies between 1 centimeter and 4 centimeter depending upon the length of the muscle. The diameter of the muscle fiber is going to vary from 10 micron to 100 micron. The muscle fibers are attached to a tough cord of connective tissue called as tendon. Tendon is in turns attached to the bone. Each muscle fiber is enclosed by a cell membrane called as sarcolemma. Just like each and every cell, muscle cell is also going to have cell membranes, cytoplasm, everything else, but it going to have a different name. Okay, if there is a layer which is present, we are studied the layer, outer layer of your cell, which is called as a plasma membrane, whereas here it is called as the sarcolemma. The cell membrane of the muscle cell we call as a sarcolemma, and which is lies beneath your endomysium. Okay, endomysium, this is going to be your endomysium, which is going to lies beneath your endomysium. See, this is going to be your endomysium. Okay, this is going to be your epimysia. It has been mentioned here, it is going to be your epimysium. Okay, and this is going to be your perimysium, and this is going to be your endomysium. Okay, you can able to see here. Okay, it has been mentioned here also, and some blood vessels also going to be present in the muscles, which is going to carry the blood, and even is going to nourish the muscle. Each muscle fiber is enclosed by the cell membrane called sarcolemma, already I told, and lies beneath your endomysium. The cytoplasm of the muscle is also known as sarcoplasm. Okay, so there's a different name, that's it, especially with muscle as well as the normal cell structure. The cytoplasm, what we called as the fluid jelly like substance which is present inside the cell, where your all cell organelles has been floating, we call it cytoplasm, where here we called it as a sarcoplasm. Okay, next going to see the important thing is called as myofibrils. So we're going to take this part alone. Okay, this part alone, and we're going to enlarge that, and we're going to see in the next section. This is that this is going to be a muscle fiber, where we're going to find out the myofibrils, the fiber which present, the smallest fiber which is present inside the muscle fiber, we called it as a myofibrils. Okay, myofibrils or myofibrillar are the fine parallel filament present in the sarcoplasm of the muscle cell. Sarcoplasm nothing but a cytoplasm. Okay, sarcoplasm of the muscle cell. The microfibrils runs through the entire length of the muscle fiber. The cross section of the muscle fiber, the microfibrils, appears like a small distinct dot. So as we see in the previous you can able to find a small dot like position. This is going to be a microfibrils. Okay, muscle fibril or microfibril. Okay, it's going to be appear as a dots within the sarcoplasm. The light microscopic studies shows that each microfibrils consist of a number of two alternating bands. Okay, so you can able to see a red color band here, then a white color, then red, then white, then red. There's an alternate band. Even if you're going to take the microfibrils also, you're going to see some red, white, red, white, red, white bands alternatively. So what is that band? We'll see. So the band, okay, alternating bands, also called as the section, segments, or the disc. The band is also name it as sections, segments, or the disc. Okay, the bands are formed by muscle protein. They are light band and dark band. So what we called as, this is going to be called as a light band and the dark band. So which is called as light band. The light band is also called as I band. So this one is going to be an I band. Why are they name it as I band? And says they are isotropic in nature. That's why they are called as I band. That's isotropic, starts with the letter I, so it has been named it as I band. Where this is going to be your anisotropic. That's why it is named it as an A band, starts with the letter A. Okay, so the light band is called as the I, the light band which is called as the I band, because it is isotropic to the polarized light. Okay, so the next is going to be your dark band, which we call it as a band. Why it is called as A band? In sense, it is going to be anisotropic to the polarized light. That's why it is called as a band. Okay, the I band is divided into two portions. Okay, this I band is going to be divided into two portions. You can see here. Okay, you can see here, this is going to be an I band, which is going to divide into two portions by means of a narrow dark line called as Z line, or we will also call it as a Z disc. Okay, this is going to be your I band. So isotropic band is also going to be divided into two with the help of two portion, with the help of your dark line called as a Z line. This Z line is formed by the protein disk which does not permit the passage of light. So here in the exact dark line, it won't allow the light to flow through. Either here or here, both are same. Okay. Next week, this till though we can see about the microfibril. Next we're going to see about the sarcomere, which is very important one, which going to plays a major role in the muscle contraction. So each and every muscle contraction, it takes place. How this has been the physiology of a muscle, how the physiology of the muscle is going to be takes place with the help of this sarcomere. The sarcomere is defined as the structural and functional unit of the skeletal system. Just like your nephron, just like your neuron, your sarcomere is also a structural and functional unit of your skeletal muscle. It is also called as the basic contractile unit of the muscle. Why? Because this is going to be make the muscle to contract. That's what is called as the basic contractile unit of the muscle. Each sarcomere tends between two Z line of myofibrils. Okay, so here we can able to see the black line which we called as a Z line. So we're going to have two parallel Z line where your the space between these two Z line if we called as a sarcomere. This sarcomere is going to, this space is going to contract and relax based upon the muscle movement. Okay, each sarcomere extends between your Z lines of the microfibril. Each microfibril consists of an alternative dark A band and a light band. So see, here going to be a light band, then you're going to have A band, then you're going to have I band. Again, next we're going to have A band, then I band, like that. Alternatively, it's going to have the A and I band. The middle of the A band, now we're going to concentrate in the middle of the A band. Okay, there is a light area called as Z zone. This is going to be your Z zone. Okay, and this line is we call it as a M line, where your myosin filament is going to be get attached in the A band. We called it as a M line. The middle of the H zone, the middle of this H zone lies the middle part. Middle of the H zone lies the middle part of your myosin filament. This is called as the M line. Okay, this is called as a M line. The M line is formed by myosin binding protein. This M line is formed by the myosin binding protein. Okay. The electron microscopic study reveals that the sarcomere consists of many thread-like structures called as myofilaments. Again, always your muscles will be in the fibers, in the filament structure itself. So the structural, the electronic microscope or electron microscope view of this sarcomere also going to give the thread-like structures called as a myofilament. This myofilament is going to have two types. One is going to be an active filament and actin filament, and other one is going to be myosin filament. These two filaments going to play a major role in the contraction of your either contraction or relaxation of your muscle. The actin filament, this filament extend from either side of your Z line. See, you can able to see these two are going to be your Z line. This actin filament is going to be extended from the Z line. This one, the blue color line which you are able to see, this is going to be a actin filament. Okay, runs across your I band and enters into your A band up to H band. See, so here this is going to be your H band, the boundary of between your A and H. So what happens, the actin filament starts from your Z line, it moves towards, okay, and it crosses the A band, starts here, it penetrates into the A band and it stops at the end of the A band. It won't enter into the H band, so it comes till the boundary of your H band or H zone. Okay, Okay, so from starting from your Z line, it extends till the H zone. That's going to be your actin filament. In other way, same thing is going to be done. Okay, the next filament is called as the myosin filament, which this filament is going to be situated in the A band alone. This is called as A band. This myosin, the orange color stripe filament, we called as a myosin filament, which is present only in the A band alone. Okay, so this going to, what this myosin is going to activated, and it going to pull this actin filament, and due to that your Z line is going to be when it's going to be contract, it's going to be pull, so the Z line will be going towards this direction. Likewise, same thing is going to happen in this Z line also. When it's going to relax, the myosin filament is going to release, and it's going to be move in the opposite direction at the relaxation of your muscle. We will see the physiology. Right. Next is going to be a classification of muscle. The muscles are classified into three different methods based on the different factors. Okay. So first one is going to be depending upon the striations. So the muscle, on the surface of the muscle, there will be some striated, some lines like structures, which we call as striations. So based upon that, it can be classified. Then depending upon the control, based upon the control, the muscle, which this muscle is going to control by this organ, and this muscle will be contribute and controls this organ. So based upon that control, it's going to be further classified, and it's also classified depending upon the situation. Okay, right. First we see that depending upon the striation. So depending upon the striation, it is again subdivided into two groups: striated muscle and non-striated muscle. So striated muscles are obviously all skeletal muscles is going to be striated muscle, all voluntary muscles is going to be striated muscle, and all smooth muscle and cardiac muscles is going to be a non-striated muscle. Okay, so depending upon the presence and absence of cross striations, the muscles are divided into two groups. One is going to be a striated muscle. Striated muscle is the muscle which has large number of cross striations. Skeletal muscle, as I said, and the cardiac muscle belongs to this category. Even though cardiac muscle is involuntary in action, it also comes under striated muscle. The non-striated muscle is the muscle which doesn't have the cross striations, is called as the non-striated muscle. It is also called plain muscle or the smooth muscle. Obviously we use the word, we are oftenly use the smooth muscle. Okay, instead of plain muscle, we often use the word smooth muscle. It is found in the walls of the visceral organ. Visceral organ, since you can tell that about esophagus, small intestine, large intestine, stomach. So each and everything, these organs are made up of a smooth muscle, which is going to be a non-striated muscle. So next, the classification is going to be depends upon the depending upon the control. Okay, so depending upon the control, there it has been subdivided into two. One is going to be a voluntary muscle, and other one is going to be involuntary muscle. So consciously we're going to control. It's called as voluntary muscle. So without our consciousness, our muscle is going to be controlled. Then it is going to be an involuntary muscle. So depending upon the control, the muscle is classified into two types. One is voluntary muscle. Voluntary muscle is the muscle that can be controlled by the person. Then the skeletal muscle are the voluntary muscle. The only muscle is the skeletal muscle, which is going to be voluntary muscle. These muscles are inverted by the somatic nervous system. Invaded by the somatic nervous system. Actually, you can be able to refresh the nervous system or the nervous system session while I'm classifying the nervous system: central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Again, the peripheral nervous system divided into somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Again, your autonomic nervous system is divided into sympathetic, parasympathetic, and empathetic nervous system. Okay, right. You can recollect all those things while you're discussing about each and every time we see the word somatic nervous system. So this is voluntary muscle is had been controlled by the autonomic nervous, controlled by the somatic nervous system, which will be under our control. Okay, especially these voluntary muscles are all the muscles, even the sphincter muscle, external sphincter muscle is also comes under in your voluntary muscle. The involuntary muscles, the muscle that cannot be controlled, is called as the involuntary muscle. Especially the cardiac muscle, the smooth muscle are in the involuntary muscle. These muscles are invaded by an autonomic nervous system. Okay, so that's the main difference between this voluntary muscle and the involuntary muscle. Even you can able to see this diagram. So the biceps and triceps, if you want we can able to contract, if you want we can able to relax. Based upon the usage of the muscle, we can utilize the voluntary muscle. Whereas these muscles, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, your esophagus, then your cardiac system, your heart, then lungs. So these muscle are made up of smooth muscle as well as involuntary muscle, which is not under control. They will be controlled by the autonomic nervous system automatically. Next is going to be depending upon the situation. Okay, so depending upon the situation, the muscle is going to be classified into three types. One is going to be a skeletal muscle, other one is going to be a cardiac muscle, and the last one is going to be a smooth muscle. So depending upon the situation is going to be further classified into three types. The first one is going to be skeletal muscle. The skeletal muscle refers to the multiple bundle of the cell joined together called as muscle fiber, which we had discussed in the previous slides. The voluntary muscle, skeletal muscle is always voluntary muscle, in anchored by the tendon to the bone and is used to affect the skeletal movement such as locomotion and maintaining the position. That's called as posture. The postural control is generally maintained as an unconscious reflex that muscle responsible react to conscious control like non-postural muscle. So automatically there will be an unconscious reflex in that skeletal muscle. In case if you feel like to fall down without your consciousness, immediately this skeletal muscle will bind up with the bone, and it gives the exact posture of the person and helps him from not to fall down. Then the average adult male is made up of around 42% of the skeletal muscle, and an average adult female is made up of 36% of skeletal muscle. This is why, because there is a 6% difference between the male and the female skeletal muscle. Says males always might undergo some exercise, they will use to build up their bodies. Bodybuilders, they will be having some extra growth in their muscles, while your muscle is going to be strained with your exercise and all. So that might be some structural variation between your male and the female skeletal muscle. Next going to be a smooth muscle. The smooth muscle again is further divided into two subgroups, and the smooth muscle is also in involuntary and non-striated muscle, as I said. So it's going to be separated into two subgroups. One is going to be a single unit smooth muscle, and other one is going to be a multi-unit smooth muscle. So single unit smooth muscle, in sense, the visceral smooth muscle is a type of it's also called as the single unit smooth muscle, is also called as a visceral smooth muscle, is a type of smooth muscle found in the uterus, gastrointestinal tract, and the bladder. Bladder is also made up of a muscle, because it will contract and relax, or it will be expand, even the uterus, stomach, everything. Okay, so the uterus, gastrointestinal tract includes your stomach and the bladder. These things are made up of your visceral smooth muscle. The single smooth muscle cell is a bundle of inverted by a autonomic nervous fiber. The action potential can be propagated through the neighboring muscle cell due to the presence of many gap junction between the cell. You can see the diagram. This is going to be your single unit smooth muscle, or the visceral smooth muscle, where your autonomic nervous system, your autonomic nerve will be moving on the surface of this smooth muscle. Okay, so here each and every cell in the smooth muscle is going to be interconnected by a gap junction. You can able to see. So what happened, this cell will easily communicate with the other cell by its producing the action potential from here to here. So there will be a easy communication from either from the nervous cell or from cell to the nerve. That's what the single smooth muscle cells is a bundle of cells which is invaded by the autonomic nervous system. Even the multi-unit smooth muscles also going to be invaded by the autonomic nervous system. The action potential can be propagated through the neighboring cells or the muscle cell due to the presence of many gap junction between the cells. That's very important. This is the difference between your single unit smooth muscle as well as the multi-unit smooth muscle. In the multi-unit smooth muscle, it's the second type of smooth muscles that rarely possess a gap junction and does not electrically coupled. So even though it's going to produce some gap junction, but it's not electrically coupled in sense, it won't communicate the action potential from one cell to another cell. 100%, 90%, these multi-unit smooth muscle does not have any gap junction at all. So this here, this you can able to see the autonomic nervous system will be entering as it likes, it moving in between these two cells like that. This is going to be a multi-unit smooth muscle. The contraction does not spread from one cell to the next cell. That's obvious because there is no gap junction. The smooth muscle is absorbed in the large. These cells are present in the larger airways to the lungs, larger arteries, in hair follicles, internal eye muscle that usually called papillary muscle, which regulates the entry of the light as well as and the shape of your lens, which is very important. These papillary muscles plays an important. The papillary muscles is going to be a type of a multi-unit smooth muscle. Okay. Next, we're going to see about the cardiac muscle, a very important muscle, which is made up of only single organ. It's called as heart, human heart. The only organ which is going to have the cardiac muscle is human heart, and we can't able to find this cardiac muscle anywhere in our body except in the heart. The cardiac muscle, also called as myocardium, is one of the three types of vertebrate muscle. Involuntary, it's going to be involuntary muscle, striated, but it's even though it's involuntary, it's a striated muscle that constitutes the main tissue of the walls of your heart. Myocardium forms a thick middle layer between your epicardium and the endocardium. So epicardium is going to be the outer layer of the heart, and the endocardium is going to be inner layer. So in between these two, epicardium and endocardium, you're going to have a myocardium layer which is made up of myocardial cells or the cardiac cells with blood supplies via the coronary circulation. The cardiac muscle contracts in a similar manner to the skeletal muscle. All the muscle will be contracting in the same process. The physiology is going to be same, but the muscle type, the presence of voluntary, depending upon the control, depending upon the structures, this is going to be get classified in different manner. Okay. And the nervous system, the supply of the nervous system is also going to be differentiated into different categories. Okay. Electrical stimulation in the form of an action potential triggers the release of the calcium from the cell internal calcium storage in the sarcoplasmic reticulum, whereas in the normal cell we call this an endoplasmic reticulum, where we're going to have two types of endoplasmic reticulum, rough and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Here in this muscle we're going to call this as sarcoplasmic reticulum. So same function what the endoplasmic reticulum going to do, the same process is going to be done by your sarcoplasmic reticulum also. It's the sarcoplasmic reticulum plays a major role in releasing of a calcium ion. This calcium ion further in turns it helps in the contraction of your muscle. Increases in calcium causes the cell myofilaments to slide past each other in the process called as excitation contraction coupling. This is what I said, the contraction. This calcium ion is going to play a major role in the contraction of your muscle physiology. Right, so this is going to be the classification of the entire muscle system. It's going to be based upon the control, based upon the situation. Here your heart is going to be made up of a cardiac muscle, then skeletal muscle, all over body is made up of skeletal muscle, your esophagus, then urinary bladder, your external sphincter muscle, internal sphincter muscle, small intestine, large intestine, colon, rectum, everything is made up of your smooth muscle. Okay. Now we're going to see about the physiology of muscles, very important thing which we're going to see now. So physiology of muscle, what is the main function of the physiology? Is nothing but the function. What is the main function of the muscle? It's to contract and to relax, but depends upon the stimulus which is going to be get. If it is going to be our involuntary, most probably the heart, the what is that, what kind of stimulus is that? Internal stimulus which has been created by an electrical stimulus, has been created by a SA node from the birth till your from the formation of the embryo till the death of the person. It automatically gives stimulus to our heart muscle, which helps in the contraction and the relaxation of the heart muscle. If it is a voluntary muscle, most probably all voluntary muscles are going to be our skeletal muscle, which going to supply by a nerve which is we called as a motor nerve, which this motor nerve we're going to give the instructions or going to stimulus to the muscle and make the muscle to contract. Okay, so the individual motor nerve pulse, the muscle fiber is stimulated and it's called as the motor unit. So in the diagram you can able to see in the upper portion you can able to see the person is going to be contract the muscle. So the information from the brain is going to the hand to contract the biceps muscle. So what happened, it is going to be bicep muscle is going to be contract, so it's going to expand, and after that it going to comes, it's going to be relaxed. So this is going to be your motor neuron, where we called as a neuromuscular layer or neuromuscular, where your muscle and neuron is going to be joined. Here this is going to be a synapses between your muscle and the neuron. Obviously this is going to be a dendrons of the neural cell. So here the process, you know that the synapses, what happened, how the stimulus is going to be conducted to the muscle by releasing your neurotransmitter. You're able to see inside the vacuole there are small dots which comes out as a blue small dots called as a neurotransmitter. This neurotransmitter, this stimulus will be initiate your muscle contraction, and the further we'll see how this neurotransmitter initiates in the muscle contraction, and this is going to be your sarcomere. Can you able to view that? This is going to be a sarcomere, and the pink twisted line we called as a actin filament, and this is going to be a center red one we called as a myosin filament. So in the myosin filament there is some roughly surface which going to pull your actin filament in either side. So this is going to make your muscle contract, and this is going to be your Z zone or Z band or Z line, and this is going to be your H line. Okay, and this is going to be your A band. Okay, and this is going to be your H line. Okay, Z line. It's where your actin filament has been attached. Okay, we will see the physiology. The individual muscle neuron pulse, the muscle fiber, it stimulates and is called as a motor unit. The motor end plate is the junction of the motor neuron axis, and the muscle fiber is stimulated. The stimulates a reaction in each sarcomere between the actin and the myosin filament, which results in the start of your contraction of the muscle and the sliding filament theory. Okay, this sliding filament theory also going to start. The reaction created from an arrival of an impulse stimulus, the head of the myosin filament, that's what the head of the myosin filament. In this next diagram I can able to easily view that myosin filament to reach forward and attach to the actin filament and pull the actin towards the center of the sarcomere. That's a process it going to takes place, and how it's going to contract by pulling the sarcomere region, especially the Z band. The process occurs simultaneously in all sarcomeres, the end process of which is the shortening of all sarcomeres. That's going to be a contraction. The shortening of your sarcomeres, the shortening of the sarcomere is nothing but the contraction of the muscle, and this is going to be your relaxation of the muscle. The troponin is a complex of three proteins that are integral to muscle contraction. The troponin plays a major role. It's a protein. It's a protein which going to complex with the protein and going to be involved in the muscle contraction. Right. So this is what I have said, that the head of the myosin filament. This is going to be the head. See, this head is going to get attached with your ADP molecule, and the what is that, phosphorus molecule is going to release, and this ATP molecule will be released only when the calcium is going to be released from your sarcoplasmic reticulum. Then what happened, it's going to push, this is going to be your actin filament. Okay, this is going to actin filament, which is going to have the binding receptors, where your head of your myosin filament is going to get binded with your actin filament and push the actin filament inwards. So this is where your contraction of the muscle is going to be takes place. Okay, we'll see. When the muscle is contract, the troponin is attached to the protein tropomyosin within the actin filament. Okay, the tropomyosin, this troponin and tropomyosin will be present in the actin filament. This is going to be actin filament. When the muscle is relaxed, tropomyosin blocks. When the muscle is going to be relaxed, the tropomyosin is blocked the attachment site of the myosin cross bridge, thus preventing the contraction. When the muscle is going to relax, the tropomyosin will be blocked this attachment site. Okay, if there is attachment site, only the head of the myosin is going to get attached with this actin filament, and it pushes downwards. If the muscle want to relax, what happened, that it blocks the tropomyosin. Because of that, it won't get bind with your actin filament, and if there is no binding with the actin filament, it can't able to contract or pull the actin filament, and the muscle will get relaxed. It will moving in the opposite direction. The binding of this myosin and the myosin and the actin filament we called as the cross bridge. When the muscle is stimulated to contract by the nerve pulse, the calcium channel opens in the sarcoplasmic reticulum and release the calcium into the sarcoplasm. Sarcoplasm is nothing but the cytoplasm, just like the cytoplasm in your cell. What happened, from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, your calcium is going to be released in the sarcoplasm. This calcium attached to the troponin, which cause a change in the muscle cell that moves the tropomyosin out of the way, so the cross bridge can be attached and produce the muscle contraction. This is what the important secret behind the muscle contraction. The calcium which plays a major role. This calcium has been released by your osteoclast, where you are going to remove all the olden material on the surface of the bone, which also gives some calcium ions. This calcium will be stored in this here in the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and as soon as the muscle want to contract, the troponin the calcium attached to the troponin, which causes a change in the muscle cell, and is released by the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and it will activate the tropomyosin to move away and forms a cross bridge and produce the muscle to contract. So this is the principle how it's going to get your head of your myosin and the actin is going to get binded, and it's going to get moved. And next is the sliding filament. Just I'm going to summarize in a simple manner. The sliding filament theory of muscle contraction can be broken down into 4 distinct stages. 4 distinct stages. I'm going to summarize it. First is going to be muscle activation. Next is going to be muscle contraction. Next, the recharging and the relaxation. So these 4 processes combined together to form a muscle contraction. First is muscle activation. How the muscle has been activated. The muscle is activated with the help of an nervous system. It may be a motor nervous system. Mostly if a skeletal muscle is going to be a motor nervous system, or if it is an Any other muscle, cardiac muscle is going to be by sympathetic or autonomic nervous system. Okay, so the motor nerves stimulates an action potential. Obviously, stimulation is nothing but produce the action potential to pass down the neuron to the neuromuscular junction. This stimulates the sarcoplasmic reticulum to release the calcium ion into the myocyte or muscle cell. The other name for muscle cell is going to be a myocyte. The muscle contraction, how muscle contraction takes place. The calcium floods into the muscle cell, binding with the troponin, allowing the actin and the myosin to bind. That's called cross bridge. Okay, this actin and myosin cross bridge bind and contract using the ATP as the energy, adenine triphosphate. Okay, so ATP contract using the ATP as the energy. Then recharging, how they are going to recharge? The ATP is resynthesized, allows the actin and myosin to maintain their strong binding state. So what happened again? Your ATP is going to be restored inside the cell itself, and this will be if it is necessary, this ATP again releases energy for the cross bridge process and to make the contraction of the muscle. Next is relaxation. Relaxation occurs when the simultaneous of the nerve stops. The stimulus which gives by the nerve. So as soon as the stimulus stops by the nerve, what happened? Relaxation of the muscle is going to be takes place. The calcium is then pumped back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum, breaking the link between the actin and the myosin. Then the actin and the myosin return to the unbounded state, causing the muscle to relax. Okay, so this is how your muscle contraction has been taking place. First, the information is going to be given. Without the stimulus from the nerve, there won't be any contraction or the relaxation. So if the stimulus is given by the nerve, if the stimulus is continuously giving to the muscle through a nerve, the muscle is going to get contract, and if the stimulus has been stopped, your relaxation of the muscle will be takes place. Okay, you can see this diagram, this animated video. Here they are going to show the sarcomere. Okay, this is going to be your actin, and this is going to be a myosin filament, and the head of the myosin filament, you can able to see some green heads in the myosin filament, which is going to get attached with the actin filament. So see here, this is going to be your myosin filament, and this is going to actin filament. So the head of the myosin filament, what happens? Your ATP plus P, that's going to be ATP, adenine triphosphate, 3 phosphates going to be up. That's what they are in the beginning. They are being shown in ADP and the another separate phosphate. Why? Because after it is going to get joined, the phosphate is going to be released. The phosphate is going to be released, one phosphate is going to be released, and what happened? This ADP is going to be reabsorbed by the cell, and again ATP is produced, and due to that ATP, what happened? It starts binding with your actin filament. How this release of this actin filament releases the calcium ion. That calcium ion also released by your sarcoplasmic reticulum, and it helps in the binding of your cross bridge binding of your myosin and the actin filament. And what happened? It going to be stretch the information. Okay, and when the stimulus has been stopped, even the ATP will be stored by the head, and it moves down, and it makes the muscle to relax. So this is the exact physiology behind the muscle contraction. Next, the function of the muscle tissue. What are the main function? Movements, maintenance of the posture or the position, respiration by the lung muscle, then heat generation, then communication, then constriction of your organ and the blood vessels, especially the sphincter muscles, the constriction of the organ and the blood vessels also made up of a smooth muscle, and the pumping blood, heart. So these are the important function. More other than this, also a lot of functions also maintained by your muscle tissue. These are very vital functions. Next, the property of the muscle tissue. What are the important property of a muscle? Contractility, excitability, extensibility, then elasticity. So these are the 4 important properties of a muscle. contractility, the ability of the muscle cell to forcefully shorten. So the ability of getting shortened and relaxing. So easily it can be contract and relax. So the ability that's called the contractility. Excitability, the ability to respond to the stimulus, which may be delivered from a motor neuron or in any kind of hormone. So the excitability with the stimulus, any kind of stimulus, it will be immediately respond. Then extendability, extension, the ability of the muscle to be stretched, the muscle strength. Even you can put upon around 10 kgs to a muscle fiber, which can withstand the strength for intense weight. Next, the elasticity, the ability to recoil or bounce back to the muscle to its original length after being stretched. So as I said, even going to be stretch the muscle with a heavy weight, as soon as you release the weight, it comes to its original position or the original shape or the original size. That is called the elasticity. So these four important property makes the muscle to be very strong, and it helps our human system, human body to maintain the proper response. And some muscles also can maybe act as a shock absorber for if you fall down, or if you're going to withstand any beat or any weight falls on us, it also be takes used as a shock absorber also. Okay, today's session of the human muscle system, muscular system has been over. Athena sir?
Yes, sir, I am here.
Yeah, today's session has been over, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I will call you, sir, later.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.